You know how it is. Some days, picking up something new feels like a breeze. It just clicks. But other days, it feels like you're running headfirst into a brick wall, over and over again. I mean, how can a tiny baby soak up an entire language without even trying, but we struggle to remember a simple password? Well, here's the amazing part. Neuroscience is finally handing us the instruction manual. Today, we're going to open it up and see how our brains are actually built to learn.
So, what is the deal with that? Why is it so inconsistent? It's a puzzle that drives all of us crazy. But the answer has nothing to do with raw talent or just being smart. It turns out it's a biological process. And once you get the rules of that process, you can finally start working with your brain instead of fighting against it.
Okay, so to really get this, let's start by digging into the puzzle itself with a classic experiment that honestly reveals the first and maybe the most important piece of the whole thing. So picture this. You've got two kittens. For a few hours every day, they experience the exact same visual world. But here is the critical difference. One kitten gets to walk around and explore freely. The other kitten is just a passenger. It's carried through the exact same room and a little cart, so its eyes see everything the first kitten sees, but it doesn't do any of the work. The result is, well, it's kind of staggering. The active kitten, it develops totally normal vision. But the passive kitten, even though its eyes are perfectly healthy and saw the same exact images, it becomes functionally blind. This gives us our first huge rule for the brain's instruction manual. Learning is absolutely not a spectator sport.
So, okay, if just passively watching leads to, well, blindness, then what actually leads to learning? A neuroscientist named Stanislas Dehaene has basically spent his whole career on this question, and what he's given us is, for all intents and purposes, the brain's user manual.
And here's the big takeaway. Learning isn't some kind of magic trick. It's a biological process, and like any process, it follows a very clear set of rules. And the best part? We finally know what those rules are. Dehaene boils it all down to just 4 essential pillars. Now, you should think of them like the 4 legs of a table. If you take even one away, the whole structure of learning just completely collapses. And this applies to everything from learning guitar to understanding quantum physics. So here they are: attention, active engagement, error feedback, and consolidation. This is our map for the rest of this journey. Let's break down what each one really means, and more importantly, how you can actually use them. We're going to start with the first 2 pillars. These are all about the input, how information even gets into your brain to begin with.
First up is attention. Just think of attention as the bouncer or the gatekeeper for your brain. It's what decides what gets in and what stays out. You've probably heard of the invisible gorilla experiment, right? People are so focused on counting basketball passes that they totally miss a guy in a full gorilla suit walking right through the middle of the screen. It's the perfect proof. If your attention isn't on something, your brain literally doesn't even register that it's there.
And this brings us right back to those kittens and our second pillar, active engagement. A brain that just passively soaks up information learns almost nothing. To really learn, your brain has to be like a detective on a case. And active doesn't just mean moving your body. It means being mentally engaged, questioning things, trying to connect ideas, experimenting. It's the huge difference between just reading a definition and actually trying to explain it. This idea is the secret sauce behind the famous Feynman technique. The physicist Richard Feynman said you don't truly understand something until you can explain it simply, like to a child. And the reason this is so powerful is because it forces you into active engagement. You can't just spit back jargon. You have to really wrestle with the concept, find your own analogies, and build it from the ground up in your own words. It's so brilliantly simple and understandable, and it's the ultimate test of whether you've actually learned a thing. All right, so you've paid attention. You're actively engaged. The information is in. But how does your brain actually process all of that and make it permanent? Well, that's where our next 2 pillars come into play. So let's talk about pillar number 3, error feedback. And I'm telling you, this one is maybe the biggest mindset shift of them all. From the time we're kids, we're taught that making a mistake means we failed. But for our brains, an error is something totally different. It's just information. It's a surprise signal that basically yells, whoa, what you thought was going to happen didn't. Time to update your model of the world. I mean, think about it. If you never make a mistake, there's no surprise. And if there's no surprise, your brain thinks, I guess I've got this figured out. And it has no reason to learn anything new. So we've let the information in, we've learned from our mistakes. But how do we make sure it doesn't all just vanish by tomorrow? That brings us to our final pillar, consolidation. And the surprising hero of this entire process is sleep.
So scientists have actually watched this happen. It's amazing. They recorded the brain activity of rats as they were learning to find their way through a maze. And as the rats started to figure it out, a very specific pattern of neurons fired, like a unique little song for solving this maze. But here's where it gets wild. That night, while the rats were totally asleep, the scientists saw those exact same neurons firing again, over and over and over. It was like an instant replay in their brain. But get this, it was accelerated up to 20 times faster. While you're sleeping, your brain is literally running high-speed practice drills, moving knowledge from your shaky short-term memory into solid, permanent, long-term storage.
Okay, so what do we actually do with all this information? We use it, right? By understanding these 4 pillars, we can stop just hoping we learn and start doing it with purpose.
So let's put this toolkit together. When you want to learn something, give it your full attention. That means phone away, tabs closed. Don't just read, actively engage with it. Ask questions, mess around with the ideas, try to explain it to a friend, test yourself all the time, and see every mistake not as a failure, but as priceless error feedback. And finally, to consolidate everything, practice, and then go to sleep. Seriously, it's not a luxury, it's a non-negotiable part of the learning process.
Look, the human brain is the most powerful learning machine that's ever existed. And these 4 pillars, they're its operating system. When you understand them, you're not just becoming a better student, you're taking control of your own growth. So the question really isn't if you can learn better anymore. The science is clear. You absolutely can. The only real question left is, where are you going to begin?